There's an old saying, a river doesn't force its way through the rocks, it finds the smoothest path. And yet, how often do we ignore this wisdom? How often do we wrestle with life, clench our fists, and charge forward, only to be met with resistance, frustration, and exhaustion? The Stoics had a better way. They lived by a quiet but powerful principle: do not force what is not meant to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." But this isn't a call to bulldoze our problems. Instead, it's an invitation to learn when to act and when to yield, when to persist and when to pause. Imagine a man lost in a forest. He panics and forces his way through thorny brush, getting more lost, more entangled. But if he stops, listens, and watches for the natural openings in the landscape, a path eventually reveals itself. Life works the same way. The harder we force outcomes, the more resistance we create. The more we align with the current of life, the more effortlessly things unfold. This is the art of effort without struggle, movement without desperation. It's the choice between swimming with the current and drowning trying to fight it. And it all starts with knowing some doors are meant to open with ease, and others are closed for a reason. Lesson 1. The power of letting go. Think of holding a rope in a game of tug-of-war. The harder you pull, the tighter the tension. But what happens when you let go? The resistance disappears. This is the first lesson the Stoics teach. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means surrendering attachment to outcomes beyond our control. Epictetus put it simply, some things are up to us, and some things are not. We cling to jobs, relationships, expectations, believing that, with enough effort, we can make them work. But life doesn't work that way. A farmer doesn't demand rain. He plants, he waters, and then he trusts nature to do the rest. A musician doesn't force a melody. She practices, listens, and lets the music come to her. A sculptor doesn't hammer wildly at stone. He follows the shape already hidden inside. This is how we must learn to live. Force leads to friction, and friction leads to suffering. The more we try to push against life, the more we miss the quiet doors that are waiting to open for us. A failed business deal might be clearing the space for one that better fits your path. A breakup may feel like a loss, but it could be preparing you for a deeper, more authentic love. We often think letting go is loss, but it is actually liberation. When we release our grip on what isn't ours to control, we create space for something greater to take root. Ask yourself, where am I holding on too tightly? What am I afraid will slip away if I loosen my grip? If you can answer honestly, you may discover that what is truly meant for you was never in danger of being lost. Let go, and let life rise to meet you. Lesson 2. Flowing with life. Lao Tzu, often seen as a philosophical cousin to the Stoics, once said, "By letting it go, it all gets done." Nature is our greatest teacher in this. The ocean doesn't fight the wind, it dances with it. Trees don't resist storms, they bend, and in doing so, they survive. The strongest materials are not those that oppose every force, but those that adapt and endure. The Stoic Seneca wrote, "Fate leads the willing, but drags the unwilling." We suffer when we fight against what is, but when we adjust our sails, we move forward with grace. Picture a sailor. If he stubbornly holds his course against shifting winds, he goes nowhere, or worse, he sinks. But if he adapts, those same winds carry him forward. The key is flexibility. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. We often confuse flow with passivity, but it is not inaction. It is intelligent navigation. The most effective leaders, the best creators, And the most resilient people know when to push and when to pivot. The river does not argue with the mountain. It simply flows around it, reshaping the land over time. In our lives, this means noticing when something isn't working and asking, am I resisting something I should be flowing around? Friendships, work, creative pursuits. They all thrive when allowed to develop naturally. Forced relationships often wither. Controlled outcomes rarely satisfy. But when we allow space for growth, we build trust, connection, and depth. Flow doesn't mean we do nothing. It means we stop doing what doesn't work and start doing with what does. Let go of forcing. Embrace the flow. In nature, nothing is rushed, yet everything is accomplished. The seasons change in their own time. Winter does not hurry to become spring. Fruit ripens only when the conditions are right. Sunlight, water, patience, and yet, how often do we pressure ourselves to bloom before our season? Marcus Aurelius reminded us, never be in a hurry, do everything quietly and in a calm spirit. In today's world of instant gratification and constant hustle, that advice sounds almost radical, but real growth takes time. A seed doesn't sprout because you yell at it. It germinates unseen, under the soil, in the dark. Then, slowly, it breaks through. So too with us. Our personal development, dreams, and transformations often happen invisibly, before they're seen by the rushing the process. A business that is rushed may fail to thrive, but when we under patience is, and so it is with our goals. Whether you're building a career, healing from heartbreak, learning a skill, or pursuing a dream, do your part, then give it time, because waiting. The most beautiful things in life take time, patience, and care. Let timing be your ally, not your enemy. There's a fine line between taking control of our lives and trying to control life itself. The Stoics walked that line with grace. They weren't passive. They were warriors, philosophers, leaders, people of great action, but they acted without desperation. Epictetus said it best: do your duty, but do not be attached to the outcome. Imagine firing an arrow. You train, you aim, you steady your breath and release. But once that arrow leaves your bow, its path is no longer in your hands. Wind, movement, distance, those are beyond your control. Your responsibility was the aim, the release, the preparation. So much of life is like that arrow. We spend years preparing, studying, saving, dreaming, hoping. But at some point, we must release our efforts into the world and trust that the wind will carry them where they're meant to go. The Stoics never advocated laziness. Quite the opposite, they believed in duty, discipline, and courage. But they also believed in serenity, the inner peace that comes from knowing when you've done enough. It's not about giving up. It's about giving over the illusion of control, giving over the anxiety that insists we must force a result to feel secure, giving over the need to manipulate outcomes to validate our worth. True action is measured, steady, deliberate. A sculptor doesn't hack wildly at marble. They follow the stone's natural grain. A musician doesn't thrash the strings, hoping for a masterpiece. They practice again and again until the music flows with ease. So it is with life. Work hard, yes. Take initiative, absolutely. But hold your ambitions with a soft grip. Trust that the right opportunities will find you, not through panic or perfectionism, but through presence and persistence. Let your life be like a river, always moving forward, yet never in a rush. Let your effort be full, and your attachment be light. This is the balance of action and acceptance, the steady hand that moves, and the peaceful heart that knows when to let go. One of life's hardest lessons is this: you cannot make someone stay who is already halfway out the door. As painful as it is, the Stoics teach us not to beg, chase, or cling. Seneca wrote, "The wise man is content with himself." That doesn't mean we don't love others. It means we love them without gripping so tightly that we suffocate what we cherish. People, like seasons, change. Some come into our lives like spring, bringing color, warmth, and renewal. But not all are meant to stay through winter. Trying to force permanence in a world of impermanence leads only to pain. Have you ever tried to hold water in a clenched fist? The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes. But open your palm, and the water rests there. So it is with love, friendship, and connection. Healthy relationships are not built on control. They are born from choice, mutual respect, mutual growth, mutual presence. When we try to mold someone into who we need them to be, we erase who they truly are. When we chase after someone who no longer sees our worth, we forget our own. And when we try to glue together something that's already broken, we often end up cutting ourselves on the shards. The Stoics encourage us to love deeply, but not desperately. To be grateful for what was shared, rather than resentful for what didn't last. Yes, it hurts when people leave. But not everyone is meant to walk with us forever. Some are guides for a chapter. Some are mirrors to our own growth. Some are there to teach us joy. Others to teach us strength through sorrow. Letting someone go doesn't mean the connection wasn't real. It means you're choosing peace over possession. A garden grows best when each plant has space to breathe. Overwatering kills. So does overholding. Give your relationships room to evolve. Let them change. And when the time comes, let them go with grace. Trust that those who are meant for your life will remain, not out of obligation, but out of alignment. To love without force is to love fully, freely, and wisely. We live in a world that praises the hustle, glorifies the grind, and measures worth by how busy we are. But the Stoics had a different take. Ambition, they said, is noble but only when it is rooted in purpose, not panic. Marcus Aurelius never sought power for power's sake. He rose to lead not through conquest, but through character. He prepared himself inwardly, so that when responsibility found him, he was ready, not desperate. This is the core of Stoic ambition: to work with quiet resolve, not anxious striving. There's a saying, "He who chases two rabbits catches neither." And often, the more we chase success, the more it eludes us. Not because we're incapable, but because we're moving from a place of fear rather than focus. Ambition driven by anxiety burns hot and fast. It consumes energy, erodes joy, and breeds a restless kind of emptiness. But ambition guided by calm intention builds something lasting. It has staying power. Picture a craftsman building a table. He doesn't rush the process. He selects the right wood. He measures twice. He sands patiently. He doesn't panic if the grain is imperfect. He works with it. And when the table is done, it is solid, beautiful, useful. Your life is that table. Your dreams, your career, your goals. They are not races to be won, but structures to be built with care. Yes, put in the hours. Yes, take bold steps. But don't let urgency cloud your vision. Don't let your worth hinge on milestones. The Stoics believed that fulfillment is not in the applause, but in the process. That to do your best with what is within your power and to release what is not is the highest form of success. So, slow down, stay steady. And remember, ambition is not about how fast you climb, but how firmly you walk. The mountain will wait. Your task is to ascend it wisely. Change is life's only constant, and yet, it's often the one thing we fear the most. The Stoics, however, didn't fear change, they embraced it. They understood that our ability to adapt is one of our greatest strengths. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Realize this, and you will find strength." Think of a tree in a storm. The rigid ones snap, but the willow, it bends, it yields, it lives. So too with us. When we cling rigidly to a single plan, a single outcome, or a single identity, we set ourselves up for unnecessary suffering. Life does not follow our scripts. It detours, surprises, and rearranges everything, often in the exact moment we thought we had it figured out. Adaptability doesn't mean abandoning your values. It means moving with life while holding your principles steady like a compass that always points north. Even if the terrain shifts beneath your feet, a warrior doesn't win every battle by charging head-on. They know when to hold, when to pivot, and when to retreat. A great leader adjusts course when new information arises. A wise friend listens instead of lecturing. And you, whether you're building a business, healing from loss, raising children, or navigating love, will find your strength not in controlling the waves, but in learning how to surf them. Adaptability requires humility. It asks, "What's the lesson here?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" It sees detours not as failures, but as new paths opening. It turns setbacks into setups for something better. A failed job interview becomes a push toward your true calling. A closed door nudges you toward the one you're meant to walk through. When we become flexible, we stop breaking under pressure. We become more creative, more resilient, more open to opportunities we never saw coming. Think of the most meaningful changes in your life. Were they part of your plan? Or did they arrive disguised as chaos, heartbreak, or surprise? That's the gift of adaptability. It transforms the unknown from something we fear into something we welcome. Let go of rigidity. Bend, so you do not break. The most graceful lives are not the most controlled, they are the most responsive. In a world that never stops moving, stillness can feel unnatural, even threatening. But for the Stoics, stillness wasn't a luxury. It was a discipline, a necessity, a portal to clarity, wisdom, and inner strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." That kind of peace doesn't come from doing more. It comes from stepping back. Stillness is not the absence of action. It's the presence of awareness. It's the quiet moment before the archer releases the arrow. It's the breath a musician takes before the first note. It's the space where wisdom forms between the impulse to react and the decision to respond. The truth is, we suffer more from restlessness than from reality. We make poor choices because we act too quickly. We miss opportunities because we're distracted. We lose touch with what really matters because we're too busy chasing what doesn't. Stillness is how we return to our breath, our purpose, our inner compass. It's how we hear the quiet voice beneath the noise, the one that says, "This is who you really are." When we embrace stillness, we find strength not in our ability to push harder, but in our ability to be fully present. We listen more deeply, we see more clearly, we feel more honestly. The greatest leaders in history were not the loudest. They were the ones who could pause in the face of pressure, who could sit with complexity and respond with calm. Nature teaches us this too. Mountains do not rush. Oceans do not explain. The moon does not justify its phases. They simply are, and in their stillness, they move the world. So take a moment each day to sit in silence. No phone, no task, just you, your breath, and the stillness within. Notice how your thoughts slow down. Notice how your body softens. Notice how wisdom rises when the noise fades. Stillness is not inaction. It is deep action born of alignment. It's the strength to say no when everything screams yes. It's the clarity to wait when the world demands haste. Practice stillness, not to escape the world, but to move through it with grace, intention, and unwavering peace. There are moments when nothing makes sense, when everything you've planned unravels, and all you're left with is a question why the Stoics didn't pretend to have all the answers. But they believed deeply in one thing, that behind what appears to be chaos, there is often a hidden order, a greater rhythm, a logic not immediately visible but deeply trustworthy. Epictetus taught, don't demand that things happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. It's not about surrendering to fate with defeat. It's about choosing to believe that life often unfolds with a wisdom deeper than our current understanding. Think of a tapestry viewed from the back. From that side, it's all knots, tangles, and mismatched threads. It looks messy, random. But flip it over, and a beautiful image appears, something coherent, intentional, even breathtaking. Your life is that tapestry. You may not yet see the pattern. You may feel tangled in a chapter that seems meaningless, painful, or unfair. But what if this moment is part of a bigger picture still in the making? What if what feels like a detour is actually alignment in disguise? Think of the times you were delayed only to be protected. Think of the people who left only to make space for better ones. Think of the opportunities you missed only to find ones more suited for who you were becoming. The Stoics didn't need to see the whole picture to have faith in it. They trusted that the universe, like nature, is not chaotic, but intelligent. It moves with cycles, with seasons, with purpose. You won't always get what you want, but often you get what you need for your growth, your awakening, your journey. To live well, you must be willing to walk forward even when the road isn't clear. You must trust the process, even when you can't see where it's leading. The caterpillar doesn't know the plan. It just follows the impulse to go still and emerges with wings. You too are unfolding in ways you may not yet understand. So when life feels uncertain, don't demand clarity. Instead, lean into trust. Trust that what's meant for you will not miss you. Trust that every moment, even the hard ones, is part of something meaningful. Trust the unseen order that is quietly guiding your steps, because the river never knows every turn in advance. It simply keeps flowing and carves canyons.